Good evening, everyone. And this is week 5 of this course, Essential of Data Science with our software, part 2, in sampling theory and linear regression analysis. I'm Kamna Mishra from IIT Mandi, School of Mathematical and Statistical Sciences. And this course is basically instructed by Professor Salab, who is from Department of Mathematics and Statistics, IIT Kanpur. Okay, so these are the usual links for all the classes regarding timings and session links. So moving to the moving to what we are going to do in today's class. So first we will, as always, revise. Okay, so first point is that what are the main points for today's class? So we will go through basically what is the confidence interval estimation of population mean. Then uh, then we will see that what are the cases for it basically. The next is that estimation of population mean, variance, and CI is confidence interval. We will see that how can we do in our software, uh, both in the cases when we are doing without replacement sampling and when we are doing with replacement sampling. At the end, we will see that how can we do the sampling for proportions and percentages. Uh, so So now, what we have here is that. So firstly, like in the last class, what we have seen is that we have seen estimation of population mean. So in the last class, we have seen estimation of population mean. Now, how do we estimate population mean? So for population mean estimation, we use sample mean. Okay, so if sample mean is y bar and population mean is capital Y bar, then we know that y bar is an unbiased estimator of population mean. So that's how we have estimated the population mean. So now this is like a 1 point. So that sample mean is like a 1 point, and the population mean is also a point. Like the mean is 50 or 30 or whatever it is. It is a point basically. The next thing is that we have the interval. So right now, what we have, we call it point estimation. So point estimation, that means we are estimating 1 point. Next is that interval estimation. Now, what is the need of interval estimation? It is basically that, uh, like most of the time what happens is that we do not have that surety that it is exactly this point. What I want to say is that uh, if you take like let's say an average of something, and you want to estimate the whole population, then there will be some difference in the population mean. So if you see what will happen, it is regarding some this phenomena happens when you have some continuous way, right? So what happens, uh, let's say, you have, let's say, time or temperature, right? Like I'm giving some two different example, right? Temperature or etc. So let's say I'm talking about a human body. Okay, So if I talk about a human body, then one person says that if it is 37 degrees Celsius, then it is a healthy body. Okay, because we see that this is a normal temperature, like this is the temperature of a healthy body. But if a person have a temperature of 36.9 degrees Celsius, or if someone have 37.1 degrees Celsius temperature, let's say, now what will happen is that what I have said is that if mu, let's say I'm saying it mu, if it is 37, it is healthy body. If mu not equal to 37, it is unhealthy. Now, if I will say that is it true in reality that if someone's temperature is 36.9 degrees Celsius, 37.1 degrees Celsius, is it like unhealthy? No, it is not. So we say that it is near, it needs to be near about 37 degree. So if it is near about 37 degree, then it is healthy body. Now, how much near about? That also matters, right? Now let's say some person has came, let's say that 34 degree, this is also near about, or let's say a person came and says that the 30 degree is the temperature. Now this one is also like, if you will say near about, then 36, 35, that is also near about. But if you will just decrease 2 degrees Celsius, then it is very less. Also, like in the thermometer we have, it is in degree Fahrenheit. So if it is 98, we say it is healthy body. But once it is like 100, we say that this person have a little bit of fever. Once it is 3, like plus 3, once it is 101, we say that this person have a high fever. Once it is crossing 103 Fahrenheit, we say that this person can go through a severe problem if this is the condition of that temperature of the body. So right, so just in 3 degree change if we will take, then also it is very major difference in the real body, right? So then it automatically come in the unhealthy body. So now how do we decide exactly that if I'm saying it is 37, then it is healthy body, not 37 it is unhealthy, then this statement is basically not true. It is exactly not true, right? So not true in reality. So what do we need? We need some interval. So we need some interval, and we can say that in this interval, so let's say 37 minus delta and 37 plus delta. If it is, if mu is in this, then it is healthy body. Otherwise, if mu does not belong to this particular interval, then it is unhealthy body. So this is like a requirement of interval. So to make the hypothesis testing, whatever we are going to do later, it needs to be written like this. And it also needs to be like when we do statistics, when we are doing any of these things, what matters most is that is it really relating to the real life or not. So if it is just this hypothesis, it is not relating to the real life. Because let's say a person lives in a region, like, or any region, if it is like the temperature is very high of that place, the body temperature may have the tendency of increasing a little bit, increasing, so that it can balance the temperature, it can uh, have a good life. So for that it can happen. So we have understood that why do we need interval for that. Okay, so this, for that particular reason, we need the interval estimate. Okay, so if there will be any issue in my network, then just please write a message. So, I think that's why I'm switching off my video. The network is bit slow here. Okay, so we have discussed here that why do we need the interval estimation apart from the uh, estimation for population mean. Okay, so now we will see that how we can do the interval estimation. So let's say this one y1 y2 up to yn, this is our population, and y1 y2 up to yn, this is our sample. So we know how we can find the population mean. So we have this population mean, the sample mean. The s is square is the population variance, and the sigma square and small s square is the population variance, and this one is under uh, the sampling with the replacement, and this one is without replacement. So if we will go through the last class we had, estimators.
Good evening, ma'am. We have just started with the estimation of confidence limits.
Confidence interval, yes.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yes. So okay. So last class we have seen that population variance. So this is sigma square, this is capital S square, and here we have seen that estimation of population variance, as I have said, that without replacement it is unbiased estimator of S square, and with replacement it is unbiased estimator of sigma square. So, for the estimation of population mean, we need sample mean. For the estimation of capital S square, we need the variance in the terms when we have the population without replacement. So, for the population variance, for the confidence interval limit, what we need is that. So now let's say. Confidence interval, so as I have said here, we need some so in this example basically I have told that if I'm saying it, the temperature of a healthy body is 37, then I'm saying that if it is not 37 it is unhealthy, but in reality it is not true, because if the body temperature is this, then also it is true. So it needs to have some kind of interval. So that interval we can write as 37 minus delta and 37 plus delta, and we are saying that if it belongs to this particular interval then it is healthy, otherwise it is not healthy. So now we need to find this delta. So how do we find this delta? That matters. Okay. Another thing is that we have basically that how much percentage is inside of this interval. So we take for that what is the percentage of that. So we take like basically 101 minus alpha percentage. So it is whether 95 percentage, 99 percentage, or whatever is the limit. So what we say is that we say that it is basically uh, like having some kind of PDF and CDF, so that we can understand that what is the probability inside it coming. So like in the basics we are doing for the normal population, but once we have understood with this thing, we can do it like any distribution. Like right now which I'm working, I'm working on the extension of distributions. So even if you include the new distribution by extending the previous one, so there also we can do it the similar way. Okay, so the plotting we have is basically that. So we have this normal distribution and this one and this one. So we say that this is z alpha by 2 and this is minus z alpha by 2. So why we are saying alpha by 2? Because if we are saying that like 100 minus alpha percentage here, so we say that in total alpha percentage will be outside. So in total alpha percentage will be outside, that means when we are taking the normal, so we know that normal sample is sorry, normal distribution, that it is symmetrical. So when it is symmetrical, so in the time of symmetrical, it is not just mean, it is also the median. So medians basically divides the data into two. So it is like the this part is basically the mirror image of this region. So we take z minus z alpha by 2 and z alpha by 2. So what we say here is that the probability that it is coming, so we say that y bar minus capital Y bar divided by variance of y bar less than or equal to z alpha by 2. So we say that this probability is basically 1 minus alpha. So alpha is uh, in general alpha is 0.05. So 0.05 basically we have that 101 minus alpha percentage we take, so it is for 95 percentage. So if we want the interval for 95 percentage, it is 100 1 minus alpha, then alpha is 0.05. If we want at 99 percentage, then it will be alpha will be 0.01. And since here it is at one side, we are saying for total it is 95. So what we say is that here it is 2.5 and here it is 97.5. So up to that just 2.5% population is covered, and after that 90 like before that 97.5 population is covered. So that is why we see. So if I just take this, then it the inside part will become y minus y bar. It will be z alpha by 2, and I'm just multiplying this variance of y square root variance of y bar, and it is less than uh, minus z alpha by 2 variance of y bar. So from here we can say that y bar is in between. So this one is the delta we were requiring here. So the delta we were requiring here is basically z alpha by 2 and multiply by standard deviation or under root of variance of y bar. So uh, this is how we can do. Now z alpha well by 2 is basically the tables we can get from like in right now we will do all this thing in our software, so we can see that we can directly use qnorm, enorm, etc. And uh, if you want to do on your, like, basically on your own, then you can see here, uh, you can just do by z table. So here, let's say if I open any table, so it is saying that what is z, and here also you have this, at which point you want to see. So similarly we can help you make use of t table, etc. also. Okay, so now the question is that, uh, how do we find this variance of y bar? So there are two ways. So firstly is that, uh, we will have that variance of whether our sigma square is known or unknown. So based on that we find the confidence interval. Now the 2 points is that when the estimation of confidence limits, confidence interval, basically, when sigma square is known. So when sigma square is known, we use z, uh, and when sigma square is unknown, then we use t. We say that it is following the t distribution with n minus 1 degree of freedom. Because when the sigma square is basically unknown, we are taking the help of the sample, and in the sample size matters. So if we are taking a very small sample, then maybe we are not understanding the real variability in the population. So for that we use the t distribution most probably, and for that we take that n minus 1 degree of freedom. Okay, so the the proofs of it are already in the book. So now we will take that, how we can find this uh, in our software. And before moving to our software, we will just see that how it is in case SRSWOR and SRSWR. So in SRSWOR and SRSWR, uh, basically the estimates of population mean, we know that it is y bar here also, here also. Now if we want to find the estimates for population variance, let me just execute here, that the population variance you can see here is that it is, in case of y, with replacement it is, sorry, without replacement it is n minus n divided by capital N s square upon n. So it is n minus n, n times n, and then it is variance of y, right? Because the that s square is basically what, the variance of y. And for here it is basically n minus 1 upon n, n variance of y. But as we know the population size increases, so n minus 1 upon n, it is basically 1, because it is not so much of difference, so we directly take it as variance of y divided by. So now when I'm writing this, so right now you can see that I have written variance of y. So you can. Okay. So this one is happening when we are having the population which have the known variance. Okay. When the variance is unknown, then what we do is that we will take the estimation for the unknown one. So let us start with R. So let us start with R. So firstly, we will take a population. So let's say right now whatever we are using, we are taking the small size, but later on we can increase the size. So let's say my population is from 1 to 30. Now we want the sample without replacement. So let us do the sample and x and size equal to, let's say, 8, and replace if I will not give, it is anyways automatically false, but let's say we are taking this. Okay, so now we have x, we have x1. So this is our x1, this is our sample basically. So if I will write mean of x1, then the mean of x1 is 12, right? If I will take the variance of x, the variance of x is 70 7.5. Okay, so now the next thing is that what we have is that we need to do this n minus n capital N, and here we have seen that we will take this variance. So now what we will do, we will define firstly what is n. So n is the population size, n is 30. Small n, we have taken the sample size of 8, so it is 8 and 30. So next we will take this square root. Okay, so root we are taking because uh, here we are using the square root part, so it is square root variance of y bar. So it is n minus n, it is n minus n divided by n star capital N multiplied by variance of. Okay. Uh, so the next thing is that what I was talking about here, that the z alpha by 2 and z alpha, what we were saying that we can find it by using the q norm. So q norm, if I will take 0.975, then it is 1.999 0.954, if I will take q norm at 0.954, then it is 1.644854, right? So basically what we say is that when we have this we say that the mu. Okay, let me just take, if we our population is following n01, so mu is basically 0 and sigma square is basically 1. So we say that the whole population, almost 99 point something percentage, is covered in mu minus 3 sigma and mu plus 3 sigma. So mu minus sigma, I think, almost covers this population 65%, and then it increases obviously. So it is minus 1 to 1, it will be 65, and then minus 2 to 2, it will increase more. So it is 1.64 when we have this 95% coverage, and when it is 97 point sorry 97.5, then at this point it is 1.95 uh, 9964. So at this point it is like almost covered region, we say. Okay, so next what we have is that uh, we have understood this. So here what we will do is that 95 means, if I will multiply this here, if I will multiply this with 95 percentage, that means I am taking this 90% coverage interval, because the alpha is basically the half of it. So for half of it, we will take that q norm of 90.975. Okay, so the left hand side we will remain with q norm. So it was y bar firstly. So it is y bar is mean of sorry minus, it is mean of x1, uh, and then sorry, here it will be x1. So it is a small y bar, it is a small y bar, so it will be x1 uh, q norm, and multiply with let me define it as vx1. So I'm defining it as vx1, so variance of x1, and it is vx1. So this one is basically the left hand side. If I will do x, sorry, x1, and it will be this, right? So here it is this. So let's say I'm saying it is like left ci, so I'm writing it as left lci, and it is right ci. So it is sci and rci. So this is the uh, coverage for the population mean 7.35 to 16.64, whereas our mean was 12. So mean is in between 7 to 16. So right now our statement will be, there is 95% chance that our mean will be in between 7.35 to 16.64. So this is basically when we have uh, confidence interval limit. Okay. So now this one is basically done for when our uh, sigma square is known. So now the population mean will be same, the variance will be same. The only difference we will have is that uh, when the sigma square known and when the sigma square unknown. So here also we are going to use z, here also we are going to use z. In this unknown we will use the t also at n minus 1 degree of freedom. So it is we have found this one because we are using this q norm. So q norm is basically for, so q norm, so norm is basically normal. So q norm is basically for z and qt is basically for t distribution. So if I will write qt, then in qt you can see that here it is p, or let me write just here, qt. Okay, so you can see that here we have this degree of freedom or everywhere because it requires the degree of freedom. So it is let us find its value at both the points. So degree of freedom will be n minus 1, so I'm writing it n minus 1 as it is. So it is 2.354, and if I will write this 95, then it is less. So it, which is obvious thing because in 95% up to 95% it has covered less than the 97.5%. Right? Just a minute. Okay. So the similar case we will have for this also. Now the next updated LCI and RCI will be, so let me write it LCI1 and RCI1. It will be basically uh, we are using this. So here we can see that the LCI1 and RCI1 is 6 and 17, and if I just print LCI and RCI, it is 7 and 16. So one more thing what you can see is that here more thing we can notice that the interval estimation, what we have found, the interval is smaller in z, whereas a little bit large in t, right? So let me just copy paste this. Okay. So what we can see here is that the interval here, this one is smaller than above. So what can be its reason? I mean, why is that so? Any guess? Okay, so the reason is basically quite simple. Uh, Firstly, the values you can see that okay, the QT values are more, so then comparison to Q norm. So it is basically like mathematically we can see that that is why it is this one is smaller, this one is larger, but the reality is that we have one more thing known. So one more thing known means we know one more condition. So when we know one more condition, then understanding the interval becomes easy, right? So if I'm saying that like what we say that average marks of the class, let's say it's 30. So if it is so one can say like out of 50, let it is 30. So one can say it is in between 25 to 35. Okay, but if I'm saying that on an average the students have done almost same, almost same means the variability is low. Almost same means the I have told you that what is the variability of the population. Then you can say that okay, the I think the region can be like something in between 28 to 32, 29 to 31. It will be like 25 to 35 is very big interval for that. So that is how you can understand regarding the real life that when I'm saying that it is less, I'm including whether the variability of less or high. If I'm including one more factor, then we can understand it, the basically interval also better way. So it will obviously shrink. Okay, so this one is basically for the SRSWOR. The next one we will see that. So the interval what we have 6.40 to 17.59, whatever estimation we have, we say this is 95% confidence interval. Okay. So the next part is that where we will see the similar one just with SRSWR. So in SRSWR we are taking the similar one, like the population we are taking the same, but we are taking the different population, sorry, different sample obviously. So let us generate new sample. So let me take it as x2, and here I will write uh, okay. So here no values are repeated, so let me just do it one more time. Oh sorry, it is needs to be true. Okay, so this is our x2, let's say. So here we can see that the 2 is repeated 2 times. In the above sample, the 16 is repeated way more times. So that's why I have replaced it with new sample. We can work with the same, that is no issue. Uh, so it is our sample. We got our sample. Let me do mean of x2. So mean of x2 is right now 10.75. Uh, the next thing is that, as I have said that in SRSWOR we need this to estimate the variance of population, whereas in SRSWR with replacement we need only this one. So let me write it. So here we can write directly, let's say. So I'm just writing it with LC. Okay, so it is mean of x2 minus q norm of 0.975 multiplied by uh, Vx2. So we have not found Vx2 yet. So Vx2 is basically the variance of x2 divided by small n. Sorry, we need to take the square root also. Uh, let's see. So this is in between 3 to 18. So this happened is basically when our the sigma is square is known. So when sigma is square is known, what we have is that uh, for this I have written pair of x2, and then I have just done this one like this multiply by this, and the z alpha by 2 is q no 0.975, exactly similar to srswr. So only change we can see in srswor and srswr is the only change we can see is basically uh, the estimation of variance. Okay, so next is that we want to find the estimation of confidence interval when we have the sigma square is unknown. So for unknown, what we need is that we need q t. So these one will be same. So qt, that one will also be same. So just write this, copy this, and it will C1 RC1. So in place of Q, okay, it will be mean of x2 minus, here we will take QT 0.975. The degree of freedom is n minus 1 multiplied by variance of x2, just it as LC1. RC1 is mean of x2 minus qt 0.975 and minus 1 variance of x2. So this is 21 point this. So if I will just copy paste it here. Okay, so here also we can see the similar result, that when the sigma square is not known, then it is basically more, where the estimation interval is basically more, and when it is known, then interval estimation is basically, so here we can see that just minus it, so it is like 17 minus 6 almost 11, here 16 minus 7 almost 9, uh, here 18 minus 3 is 15, and here 1 minus 21 minus 1 is almost 20. What we can see more is that it is like regarding just one sample, but uh, if I say that the interval size, or let's say the difference between this, or the length, let's say CL. uh, we have CL of SRS WOR, SRS WR. What do you think will be larger? It will be less than, greater than, or equal to? What sign it will have? What sign it will have? Like, firstly, you can see from the example, but otherwise, like what it will be and why it will be, that matters most. And think you can take 1 minute. Okay, so from the particular example, what we can see is that this coverage length or confidence interval length, whatever you want to say, that is small in uh, in the time of SRSWOR, and in SRSWR it is large. Now it is not just by coincidence, it is not just that we have taken some samples and that is why it is happening. It will happen most of the time. It will be basically uh, this. So this length will less than this. Now why it is that? So why? Because uh, in the last class, when we have gone through this variance one, uh, somewhere it must be written here. Here, what we have seen, that the variance of y bar in the time of with replacement is greater than variance of y bar in the time of without replacement. So if variance of y bar with replacement is greater than or equal to variance of y bar in the time of without replacement, what will happen? uh, the value we are subtracting here, okay, so the value we are subtracting here is also large, so this one will be more small. The value we are adding here is large, so this one is will be uh, larger. So this one is smaller and this one is larger, so this one will basically uh, create a large interval. So let me write it here. So it is y bar minus z alpha by 2 variance of bar less than or equal to y bar plus z alpha by 2 variance of y bar. So if it is this, then what will happen? The variance of y bar z alpha by 2 with replacement, this one will be bigger than z alpha by 2 variance of y bar in WOR, which will say that y bar plus z alpha by 2 variance of y bar WR will be greater than y bar plus z alpha by 2 variance of y bar WOR, right? So right hand side, basically we we have seen that R C in WR is greater than or equal to RC in WOR. Similar way, we can see if I will just subtract it to minus, so the limit, so the this sign will change. So in the negative, it will be smaller. So LC of WR is less than or equal to LC of WOR. So uh, if I will take minus of it, let's say, then the sign will interchange. And now if I will add it, so LRC, let me just write for whole. So RC minus LC of WR will be greater than or equal to RC minus LC of WOR, right? So the time when I was saying that the interval size, confidence interval size, this length is greater for the with replacement than without replacement. So here is the proof. I don't think it is given in the class, but here is, you can understand that it will have the greater confidence interval length. Okay. So this is one of the thing which you can also notice. So while doing like any even a smaller code, if you will notice these small things, then you can do the data analysis in a better way. Okay. So this one was regarding the estimation of uh, population, sorry, interval. The next we will see that what is the estimation of population total. So population total is basically what? Population mean, if it is uh, let's say a small y, so for estimation of total population is basically capital N times that y. So next we will see that estimation of population total or total population. It may sound a little bit. Okay. So population total is basically, uh, we want to know, like, okay, so we want to know in general what is like average marks, so we can also find like what is on an average the total marks of the population. So for that we use that capital Y. So let's say Y, uh, so because it is like for the total population, let's say YT. So it is basically what it is, it is summation yi, which is n, sorry, this one will be capital N y bar. uh, so this can be estimated yt hat, this can be estimated by n small y bar. So basically, like the time when we have said that y bar, we can estimate by small y bar can estimate the capital Y bar. So population total is basically this, because n is constant, so n is not playing any role. So all we need to do is that we need to multiply with that. But what can happen is that in question, if you will not see it properly, that whether they are asking for the population mean or population total population, then it can, like, you may take the wrong answer, like if you are in rush. Okay. So the next thing is that the estimation of this. So the next thing we will have the estimation. This one is mean. So population total, the mean can be estimated by this. So the like proof is very simple. So if I will write, it is n by bar, it is basically n this, and it is n capital Y bar. So we say that this is unbiased estimator of population total. Let's say I'm writing it with PT. So as the sample mean is unbiased estimator of population mean, so sample uh, total is the unbiased estimator of population total. Now the variance, if we will see that if variance of this IT, so it will be basically what, uh, n square variance of y bar, right? Why? Exactly, because we know that if we have the variance of a y and a is constant, then it is a square variance of y. So by this formula, we will know that it will be variance of yt bar is basically n square variance of y. So now we will have the cases. So the case is that uh, for SRSWOR and then SRSWR. So for SRSWOR, it is n square n minus n divided by n minus, sorry, n times n s square. So n will cancel out. So it will be, so let me just write by cutting. So it will be n times n minus n s square, and for SRSWR it is n minus 1 times n s square n square. So if I will just cut the one n with the above, so the below one, so it will be this. So this one is basically n times n minus n divided by small n s square, and here also. So this one is for SRSWOR and this one is SRSWR. Uh, Also, this n minus 1 when the population size is like big enough. So we can just write estimate of variance of uh, IT hat. This one will be, so and this one is uh, the n minus 1 s square. So we can write n is square upon n s square. Now this s square is small. This one is coming from the what, sorry, sample. So this one is for SRSWOR. This one is SRSWR. Okay. So this one was regarding the estimation of population mean, population variance. We have seen in the previous class today's class regarding the confidence interval. The next we will see is that the sampling of proportion and percentage. Sampling of proportion and percentage. Okay. So sampling of proportion in percentage. Uh, Now, so basically, sampling of proportion, we take it, we consider it as a binomial, yeah, binomial distribution. We will see later that how it is. So binomial is basically I two. So two we have where we have this two like either yes or no, agree, disagree, or whatever you want to say. So uh, right now what we are doing is that we are giving like different numbers to a population, uh, to a sample. But what if we can just divide the population into two parts and similar for the sample? So what does that mean by dividing? It is basically that I have a population, and in that population regarding anything, like there are just two options. So in that you need to choose one. So for that, just so for that what we have is that it will be yes, then we consider it in one side of population, and otherwise if it is no, then it is other side of person. So now this can be anything. So this can be like in the time of census, it can be male, female, or we can divide it like the age. So let's say I'm saying that the age of a working person is in between, because like 18 plus, let's say. This can work because like let's say the child working is not included. So we are saying that, and the retirement age is I think 62 or 60, 65, whatever. So let's say I'm taking a population of that, and in that I'm saying that what is the percentage of, or what is the proportion of employed people, what is the proportion of unemployed people. uh, the next like example can be like anything. So if you are in a class, so it can be a lot of examples that a person plays cricket or not. So if it is yes, it is one side of population, another side. So basically what I want to say is that proportion is basically we can divide the proportion into two. Now if once we understood this, we can do with more, like. So let's say uh, in the time of buying something, we can say that if it is the review rating, if it is less than 3.5, I will not buy it. If it is greater than 3.5, I will buy it, or I can think of buying it. So I can take samples from that only. So that is somewhere like we need the proportion. So the proportion basically, uh, let's say I have the population which is n, and I am dividing it into two. So let's say this one is uh, class m, this one is class m star star. So this one uh, has some units. So let's say it has some a units. let's say this is class A, this is class A star, and it has m units, so that we can do n minus m, which will be easier to remember. So it has m units and it has n minus m units. So we know that in a large sample size, in a large population size, we have a population where there are two types of understanding for a, or let's say two types of decision or something for a particular thing. So the population proportion of this is basically, it is m upon n, because m is this and n is total. So we write this as capital P, and here we write n minus m upon n, and we write this as capital Q. So this is also 1 minus m upon n. So this is also 1 minus m upon n. So this is 1 minus p. So if we know one proportion, so basically if 20% is agreeing to something, that means 80% is disagreeing to that particular thing. Uh, the next thing is that the sampling, how we will have the sampling of out of it. The sampling will be, we have the population of size n, and out of that we will have uh, the class uh, A, class A star. This one is m units, this one is n minus m units. So the sample we are taking from here, uh, the sample, it is like a small n. So in that it will have similar classes. So it will have the similar classes, let's say class A and class A star. So class A and A star is basically, A is, let's say, some condition or some agreement, that whether they are agreeing to it or not. So this one, uh, if it will have m, it will have, sorry, small n minus m units. So uh, we will have this, the proportion is small p will be m upon n, and the small q will be 1 minus m upon n, which will be 1 minus p. So we are taking, rather than the whole population n, capital N, and taking a small population small n, what we are doing is that we are taking in the same way sample, but we are again dividing our sample in a way that it is belonging to those particular classes. So what will be that, this percentage will be the estimate of this, where is it, this percentage. So if I'm saying that in my sample 60% people are disagreeing to that, then in the population there is high chance that more population is disagreeing to this work. Now this sampling again can be done by any method. It can be SRSWR, it can be SRSWOR. Uh, so in SRSWR, again we know that the sample uh, will be fine with replacement, and in WOR it will be without replacement. So these are basically for the proportion. Now to understand this, what we do is that we take the help of characteristic function. So characteristic function or characteristic indicator, whatever you want to say, you can say that. So what we see is that capital yi is equal to 1, it is 0 if ith belong to, let's say, A, and if ith does not belong to, or if ith belongs to A star. Now what does that mean? So uh, what we are saying, we are taking 1 0. Now one can take 1 2 1 3, like whatever you want, A B C D anything. But what 1 0, it just makes things easy, because if you will take some summation, so let's say summation is 10 and the total one is 20, so we know that 10 is coming this, so 50% it is coming. If you will take A and B, you need to count down for both. Okay, so the population total, so so y total will be summation of yi equal to 1 to n. So in that, it will be, uh, it will always be like 1 1 1, and when it, this one will come, it is 0. So this one will be, uh 1 plus 1 and something, and then 0 0. So if I will do the summation of this, so this is basically, uh here, our p, which is m upon n. So we have this m, right? So this one is m. So the population mean, so y bar is m upon n, which is p. And then sample mean, this one will be summation yi upon n, which will be small m upon n, so which will be small p. Now what is happening, what we are doing is that, till now we were saying that it is, for this class it is m upon n, for this class it is n minus m upon n. But right now what we know is that if we have found one, we do not need to find the other one. It is basically one minus the other one. So rather than finding for the both the classes and increasing our work, what we are saying is that if it is happening, we are saying just 0. So if p is 60%, so if person is agreeing 60, sorry, if a population is agreeing to something for 60% of time, that means it is disagreeing 40% of the time. We do not need to find the mean and the variance and etc etc for the population which are disagreeing. Okay, so then we have this s square. So s square is basically 1 upon n minus 1 summation of yi minus y bar square I equal to 1 to n. So now, this, uh, so as we know, capital yi minus y bar whole square is yi square minus that y square. So it is 1 upon n minus 1 I equal to 1 to n. So it is yi square minus n y bar square. So it will be 1 upon n minus 1. So here you can see that basically y square is basically, uh, if I take it inside, then it will be n square y square divided by n. So this one is n y square directly. So now this yi is square. So yi, we have found that it is 1 if it belongs to that class A, and 0 if it does not belongs to A star. So if I will do yi is square, then it will be 1 is square, which will be 1 only. So if I will take yi is square, then also it will be that summation. So that one will also be m. So what I want to say is that summation of yi is square will also be 1 plus 1 plus 0 plus etc etc. So this one will also be m. So uh, here we are it is like uh, we are summing it from I to n, and for all it is m. So it will be m, sorry, it will be np. That m was what? That m upon n was equal to p. So the m was what? np, right? So here it will be np minus np square, because this one was mean. So it will be n upon n minus 1. Here it will be p, 1 minus p. It will be pq n upon n minus 1. Now I'm just erasing. So if it is pq n upon n minus 1, now we know, since the population size increases, so n upon n minus 1 will be equal to 1. So it will be pq. So the similar one, we can have the small s square. It will be n upon n minus 1 pq. I'm not giving the proof. The proof is very similar to that. So this one was regarding the theory for today's class. Okay, now we will do some examples just to make sure our theory is understood. Okay, so here is the finite population correction factor is used in which of the following scenarios? So we have seen that in the last class. Firstly, what is finite population correction? Uh, so let me take you to a revise. Here, here we have seen that finite population correction is n minus n upon n. And when do we do that? In the time of without replacement, right? So when we are doing without replacement, then we do finite population uh, correction. So when the sampling with replacement we do not do, when the population size is large to compare to sample size, you can be get confused that it can be correct answer, but it is not. When the sampling without replacement we have from a finite population, and when the sampling size is extremely small. So one can think that when the sample is very small, then we need the small finite population correction, but that is not the case. We need it when we do this sampling without replacement from a finite population. The next question we have here is that a researcher wants to estimate the population mean using 95% confidence interval. If the population variance is known, then which distribution should be used? So the variance is known. So when the population variance is known, here we have done that when the population variance is known, this one we have done that. When it is known, we use the normal one. Otherwise, we use the t distribution. So here we will do the normal distribution. The next thing is that which of the following correctly represent the 95% confidence interval formula when the population variance is known. So it is known, again we are going to use the z. So the t, the b part is wrong. The d part is also wrong because we are not taking uh, the z value, z or t, any value, so it is also wrong. Now in between a and b, so in a it is sigma upon root n, in the c part it is s upon root n. So the variance we take with s, not with the s sigma, because we take this one is our variance one. So this one will be the correct answer. Okay. The next is that when sample size increases, what happened to the width of confidence interval? So basically, if I increase the sample size, what will happen? The variability decreases. So let us take one example for that. Uh, uh, Let me do all this with the samples. Right now, I am taking the sample sizes. Uh, right now, I'm doing the sample size with 8. Right? Then now, I am taking the sample sizes 15. Let's say. Okay. The mean is changed. This one is changed. Now, what we have is that it is 11 to 23. Uh, so previously, I think has changed. Okay. So previously it was 3 and 18. So the difference was 18 minus 3, 15. Right now it is 23 minus 11. So it is near about 12. Right. So from 15 to 12. So basically we know that this size is decreased. So when we increase the sample size, the width of confidence interval decreases. And actually this is one of the reason why we increase the sample size. So the width decreases, the confidence interval shrinks, and in that shrinkage we will understand that population mean, we have gone the real population mean. Right? So the next thing is that another way you can also think of it as when the sample size is small, let's say n1 is greater than n2, and when the sample size increase, we increase. So what will happen in the time of increasing? In the time of increasing, we say that our mean reaches to the uh, mean sample mean just reaches to the population mean, like when we say that when it is increasing, so it reaches to the population means, that means the estimation we have for confidence interval, it will become smaller. So that is the reason why it will reach to the population mean. Otherwise, if it is large, then it will still be away from the real population mean. So when we increase n1, so this becomes smaller, and that is the reason the sample mean converges to the population mean. Okay. The next question is that a sample of 80 students was drawn by SRSWOR from a population of 800 students. Their age were recorded in a data vector age. The mean is 23.5 and the estimated variance is 0.056. So what is the standard error of the mean? So standard error of the mean is basically, you can take this square root. So in SRSWOR, a standard error of mean. So firstly, we will take square root 0.056, which is 0.236. So that one will be the answer. So that one is estimated variance, we already know. So estimated error, standard error is nothing but the square root of that. Okay. The next is that the population proportion of people who prefer the product A is estimated from a sample. The sample proportion is 0.45 and the estimated error is 0.43. So what is 95% confidence interval? Okay, so what we have is that 0.45, we have the sample proportion. Now the estimated error is already 0.03, it is given, that will be multiplied by z alpha by 2. Right? So let me just do that. 0.045 minus 0.003, is it? No, it is 0.45 and 0.03. So it is, that will be multiplied by q norm, and it is 0.975. So it is 0.3912 in the left hand side, and for the right hand side, what we will have, we just do the summation. So it is 0.508, right? So 0.508 is basically 0.51. So because we are taking up to 2 digit, so it is 0.392.51. Right? Because the next one is 0.40, so we are not take, if it is 2 digits, so we will take up to that. So 0.3912 will be rounded off by 0.39, and 0.5087 will be rounded off by 0.51. So this one is the confidence interval for that. The next question we have is that a simple random sample without replacement of 100 students is drawn from a university of this 1000 students. So uh, if the sample mean age is 22.5, then what is the best estimate of total age? So total age is basically what? Total age is population total. So population total, for that what we have is that we have NP, right? So we have N and then multiply with P. So this one is 22.5. So 22.5 multiplied by 1000, that will be uh, 22500. So that one will be the best estimate for total age of all the student in the university. Okay. The next question is that in a survey, 90 out of 200 respondents answer yes to a question. What is the estimated proportion of yes responses in a population? So 90 out of 200. So it is basically uh, 5 if I multiply. So it is 5, it is 5. So it is 450 by 100. So it is 0.45, right? So it is 90 by 200. So this one will be 0.45. Now, in a survey on a consumer preference, 70 out of 150 respondents favor a new product coded 140, and this for this. So, what is the sample variance of this binary variable? So, sample variance we have seen here. So sample variance is basically like it is n upon n minus 1, but it is, if even if you don't do it, it is just pq mostly. Okay, so the p is 70 out of 150 multiply with uh, it will be basically 150 minus 70. So 150 minus 70 will be 80. So this one will be 70 times 80 divided by 150 square. So it is 0.2488. So it is approximately 0.2489, right? Okay, so I think these are the questions we have for today's class. Okay, so if you have any question, you can ask. Otherwise, I will just revise what we have learned in the today's class and I will end the session. So the points for today's class, as we know, is that confidence interval estimation. So firstly, we have seen that as the sample mean is unbiased estimator of population mean. Similarly, we can find with the help of this the confidence interval by using this sample mean and the variance of it. So we have the population, we have sample. uh, right now we are using the normal distribution. Like we are saying that the population is following the normal distribution. If it will follow some other distribution, then some other will be used. uh, so here is the interval that we have found. The next is that if we have the population variance known, we use a z. If it is unknown, we use d with n minus 1 degree of freedom. In SRSWOR, so without replacement, with replacement, the only difference we have is the variance, estimated variance. Uh, the next thing we have seen is that the coverage length for uh, without replacement is less than the coverage length for with replacement, and I have given a very small proof for that also. uh, at Finally, we have seen the estimation of population total. So, as the sample mean is unbiased estimator of population mean, the sample total is unbiased estimator of a population total. Uh, Here we can see that. Then we have seen that variance of total population for population total we can find by using without replacement with replacement. And then we have seen how we can do the sampling of proportion and percentage. So here we have seen that if a population can be divided into two parts, then we take the sample and we divide that sample based on that particular situation into two parts. And that uh, basically that part, let's say in agree part or in a disagree part, you can take 0 to this, you can take 1 to this, it does not matter. And from there we can find the sample variance, and so the proportion sample variance for the proportion one is basically pq. And then we have done some questions. So this is regarding today's class. Okay, if there is no question, then I will end the class. Okay, then thank you for joining.